Hey folks, Sega Sonic fan here with my friend Jeremy. We're playing Metalhead, which is the greatest 3D mech game ever made. Yeah.
It's okay.
So this is a follow-up, part 2. I'd like to make a part 3 at one point, of the 32X weird Genesis VA0 incompatibility issue. So if this Genesis and 32X is not plugged into this Sega CD, this game, and pretty much all 32X games, will be crashing. They will be halting. This is a very strange engineering oversight by Sega when they were rushing the 32X to development. They made sure it was compatible with later model Genesis systems, but their earlier model, the VA6, the VA4, and apparently the Genesis Model 2 VA0, are not compatible with the 32X unless you have a Sega CD plugged in or what's called a port terminator, which was sold I guess it came with the system, but now you can still pick them up on various sites for not too much money, fortunately. But still a very strange issue. And my theory is, from studying the schematics, that it has... Because, what's different? What changes when you plug in a Sega CD? The only thing... And by the way, the Sega CD does not need to be powered on for this to work, which is also odd. Which means that it's most likely passive, a passive component issue. And it looks like there are some pull down resistors. There's a bunch of 4K7 pull down resistors for all the VD lines, the data lines. And so my guess is those pull down resistors keep those lines from floating. When they're floating, I guess if they're not being used by the bus at specific times, the 32X will crash. This is my working theory. I have not tested this theory yet. I did add a few parts to this Genesis to make it closer to a Model 3. Those parts were a 100 PF, 100 picofarad capacitor for both the, what do they call it? The UH, I forget the name of the signals. I can make a follow-up. Like I said, I'm going to try to make a part 3 where I explain more of the technical side of it. But there's a couple capacitors on the RAM banking select lines, as well as a capacitor for the main clock. And I rerouted the V clock, which is really the 7 megahertz, main CPU clock. They call it the V clock. In some of the supplemental documentation, they say that's part of the problem for the VA4 and the VA6. So I did some work on the V clock as well, thinking that could solve it. But it really looks like a port termination issue does the job. So maybe it has nothing to do with clock, and it really is just floating data lines.
Do you want to show it crashing? We just unplug it from
Yeah.
the Sega CD.
Let's do it.
All right.
Let's turn this guy off. And all we're going to do is unplug it. No magic tricks here, folks. This is where your customer gets angry and wants a return, which is what Jeremy did. It's like, screw you, Sega Sonic fan!
How dare you?
Demanded a full refund. Be interesting if it actually gets pretty far.
I mean, last time we did it, we didn't get very far and crashed pretty quickly.
I'd be like, damn it, crash!
Or I guess I should say halt.
Keep in mind that
It already did it.
There it goes. So yeah, that's all we did. We just unplugged it from a Sega CD.
This is definitely a halt or a hang if you want.
Yeah.
Not a... Crash makes it sound like it reboots or turns off or something.
I don't know these programming words. I am a hardware wizard.
It looks to me like the CPU is what hangs.
Yeah, but you can see why you would think it would be a clock. It could be a clock deal, but anyway, I'm going to leave this unplugged because... Yeah, anyway, so folks, look out for that. If you have a VA0, actually I can show you really quick. I did this in the other video, which I've yet to upload, so maybe this will just be the video upload. We'll see. But we'll take out 32X. Make sure you got your nice spacer there. That always helps. And of course your special connecting cable dealio, which they have aftermarket ones of those now, which is great. Take out your lid. There's 4 screws. I've already taken those out. Take out your shielding. There's screws around there. Unplug the power. It's always a good call. And unplug the Sega CD power. Oh, it's already unplugged. Take out your shielding. So this has an upgrade. Whoops. This has an upgrade board, as you can see here. There's just some Kapton tape to keep it from shorting against the metal frame for any reason. And this is a repaired Genesis Model 2 VA0. And if you look over here, you will see very clearly it says it's a VA0 MD2. That's what you want to look out for. Turns out there's nothing wrong with my repair, so even though Jeremy wanted to kill me and was very upset...
Not.
No, everything was fine. He's cool. He's a pal. He was patient. We got this one going. So, No returns, no refunds here, folks. Just Sega Sonic fan goodness all the way. Sega Sonic fan and
Jeremy
signing out.